What's up, everybody? My name is Scott and you're watching Kentucky Ballistics Breakdowns. And something that I absolutely love is a hand cannon. And it's taken me a long time to figure out the proper way to shoot these without damaging my hands, wrists, or my face. I've noticed that there's not much information on the internet on how to shoot these things safely, so I thought today I would give you some tips to be able to shoot a hand cannon like a pro. So shooting something like a 500 Smith & Wesson Magnum, the world's most powerful production handgun, is going to be a lot different than shooting, say, a Glock 19. First of all, your grip is going to be completely different. I am right-handed, so that goes on the gun first. My left hand, though, instead of pointing my thumbs out like I would do with a semi-automatic handgun, I'm going to take this left thumb and I'm gonna tuck my right thumb and I'm gonna squeeze really, really hard. This is just proper grip for a revolver, period, but with a giant revolver, you definitely wanna make sure that you have a good grip on it. You also don't wanna leave your thumbs out because you could sustain an injury. There is a lot of blast that comes out around the pressure cone here, and if you were to have your thumbs all the way out here for some reason, you could end up missing the tip of your thumb. And you need your thumb. Thumbs are important, and they can really come in handy. When shooting a revolver, a lot of people will tell you that you need to be really high on the grip. And that is so the bore axis of the barrel is more straight on with your wrist, and it will help you to keep that gun straight and recover from recoil a little bit quicker. With a giant handgun like this, you probably don't want to do that. We want to be able to manage the heavy recoil. So I suggest holding a little bit lower, and that is so the handgun can actually move in your hand a little bit. Another thing is you do not want to lock out your elbows. When shooting a semi-automatic, something like a 9mm, you'll see a lot of people will be completely out like this, elbows locked, and that's okay with a smaller cartridge. But with a 500 Magnum, 44 Magnum, whatever, you're gonna wanna bend those elbows. And that is so when the gun goes off, you can kind of let that recoil flow through your arms. If you have them locked out, all of that recoil is going straight to your wrist, and it's not gonna be a good day because if you have a weak grip or weak wrist, which there's nothing wrong with that, but if you do, the gun could come out of your hand, and that's not gonna be fun. So this is an Underwood Ammo Kentucky Ballistics 600 grain hardcast 500 Smith & Wesson Magnum. That's about one of the biggest things you can put inside a handgun. And if you are gonna shoot something this big, make sure you only put in one round, especially if it's your first time. And the reason for that is the extreme recoil. I've seen multiple videos where someone will be firing a giant handgun like the 500 Magnum. They have it loaded with more than one round, which real quick, I'm gonna show you that that is not loaded. They will pull the hammer back and they will pull the trigger, but then as that gun comes up, their finger lets off the trigger just enough for them to pull it again, and then it goes off again. And if that happens at just the right time, you could have a new haircut. So when shooting one of these things for the first time, I always recommend only one round, because if there's only one round in the gun, only one round can go off, and it doesn't really matter how hard the recoil affects you, there's not gonna be a consequence to that. So I'm sure you've seen the video of the firearms instructor giving lessons on shooting a revolver. He cocks his hammer back and he's holding the gun like this talking, and while he's talking, he accidentally touches the trigger, gun goes off, he almost kisses his revolver, and he puts a nice new hole in the ceiling. I bring that up to talk about my next tip, and this is a general rule of safety with firearms, especially with a revolver. I do not recommend you pull the hammer back if you are firing single action until you are on target, because when you cock that hammer back, this trigger becomes a lot more sensitive, and it doesn't take much for it to go off. So if you cock this back and you're coming down like this, and you touch that trigger too soon, bang. If you're not in an indoor range, you just sent a very large projectile into the air, and it's gonna have to come down somewhere. I have to admit, even I accidentally break this rule sometimes, and it's really easy to do. You really gotta pay attention, but you wanna start at a downward position and come up on your target. You do not wanna start up here and come down. So you wanna start here, come up. when you're on target, then pull your hammer down. Also, when firing single action, something that I see people do a lot is they'll have their grip and then they will break their grip to pull back the hammer, and then they readjust their grip. In my book, that's wrong. Here's what I like to do. I like to keep my grip, and then I will use my left thumb to pull the hammer back, pull the trigger. Then I can just lift that thumb up again, pull the hammer back, pull the trigger. It's a lot faster than doing this. You want to use that left thumb. And my final tips for you when it comes to shooting a large handgun like this is don't be nervous. Don't let it intimidate you. It's just a firearm, and if it was that bad to shoot, people wouldn't be shooting them. This is a production handgun, and Smith & Wesson created this thing for it to be able to actually be fired without blowing completely out of your hands. It is going to kick you really hard. It is going to produce a lot of recoil, but you got to be confident when you're firing something like this. Do not be nervous, because when you're nervous, that is when you make mistakes. Safety protection is always a must when you are firing a gun, but I will say this, you definitely want to have in some earplugs when you're shooting one of these. If you forget to put in earplugs when you are firing a 500 Magnum, especially in an indoor range, you're not going to be able to hear for a couple weeks. Okay, I'm going to shoot this thing now. First, I'm going to do the complete opposite of everything I just told you, other than putting my thumbs out in front of the cylinder, and then we'll shoot it the proper way, and we'll see if we can see a difference. All right, one 600 grain round. I am going to untuck my thumbs, and I'm going to straighten my arms out all the way. Here we go. Whoa. That was rough. That was real rough. Felt that all in my wrists. If you shoot that more than once, you're definitely going to be hurting the next day. It also went all into the palm of my hand, just straight down my arms. So now, I'm going to load up another round, and we're going to shoot this the Kentucky Ballistics way. So, tuck my thumb. I'm going to grip this thing super hard. I'm going to keep my elbows bent, and I'm going to allow this thing to move with me. So here we go. So, you can see there the gun moved a lot more, and that's because I was allowing it to move. It shifts up, my elbows are bent, and I allow it to flow upwards over my head. Also, when you're shooting, don't be like this, because then you could hit yourself right in the forehead. I've seen lots of videos like that as well. A lot of people will tell you that a 500 Magnum or something like it is too much to shoot, and there's no way you're going to have fun doing it. And if you do it the wrong way, it's definitely not going to be fun. But with these tips, I think you could really enjoy firing a hand cannon such as this. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If there's any other tips you'd like to find out, let me know in the comment section down below. Give today's video a like. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And as always, my name is Scott, and I'll see you next time.